So what's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Punderful Art, an art series where we turn puns into artwork. It doesn't matter if it's a drawing or a painting. I don't know about sculptures or sculpting. I don't know if I'll ever do a sculpture for this series or outside of this art series. It would be really fascinating to do so, do a sculpture video. One day for sure, I'm gonna do a sculpture video, but I don't know when. That is to be decided, much like the TV shows. But this is not really a TV show. This is just a small, like, amateur-ish art series on the Red platform. To be announced is more of a TV thing compared to be decided, in my opinion. But regardless, we're gonna do a drawing this time because I want to go in this pattern where for one episode we work on a painting, and then the next episode after that we work on a drawing, and then back to painting, and then drawing, back to painting. You really get the whole concept for this season. This is only season number 3 of Punderful Art. We're gonna stick with that pattern. Like for the first season, we only did drawings. And then for the previous season, which was season number 2, we did just paintings. Now for this season, why not both? Well, not at the same time, but like for each episode. I literally just explained it, so I don't need to repeat that. Otherwise, that's gonna get really exasperating, and I understand, guys. Now, January is Poverty in America Awareness Month. It should be Poverty Awareness Month, like worldwide, because, there's a lot of poverty, meaning poorness, in some areas of countries and these cities and towns. Oh yeah, there's a lot of poverty for a few major cities in America, the country I live in, and there's also a lot of poverty in a lot of towns, but there's one particular major U.S. city that has a lot of poverty, but in the northern portion of that city. And that U.S. city is St. Louis, Missouri. I don't think I've ever drawn this city before for any social media platform, but I'm not going to draw it like how I would normally draw it. We're going to draw it like as a cartoony way. I already drew the city with a pencil like last night using a pencil, so I already created the pencil marks. We get to do the fun part, and that is using markers and pens. We're gonna add some color to the drawing. I am pretty excited for that, and yeah. Let's just get to drawing, so without any further ado, let's go ahead and get to the intro of this series. It's time for some Punderful Art. Let's go ahead and start. St. Louis is one of those U.S. cities to be in a rough shape. Its current population is like under 300K, so the highest population back then was like during the 1950s. It had over 800,000 people, but the population has been taking a diddly nosedive, and it's just covered in bruises, so much bruises, and so many abandoned buildings, suburbanization where people would leave these major cities to head to smaller cities or suburbs, any of these smaller towns. So much arsenic, which means these buildings would catch on fire, and it's one of the reasons why you'll see so many abandoned structures for that city, especially for the northern portion of the U.S. city of St. Louis, Missouri. Yeah, it's really a disaster for a U.S. city to go through. Even the crimes. St. Louis has been repeatedly called the murder capital of the U.S. because of the high crime rates. It would have the highest crime rate than any other American city. I would love to help out these U.S. cities facing so much poverty and like so many abandoned areas. Unfortunately, I am broke. I don't even have that much money, and yeah, the homelessness in numerous cities in America and other countries. I mean, look at Detroit, look at Baltimore. California is ridiculous. There's like so many homeless people. For the U.S. city of Los Angeles, I actually have sympathy. I'm sympathetic about these homeless people in America and for other countries, not just here in America. It just shows that these people aren't able to keep up with their bills. They're really doing their best, but these housing prices would cost an arm and a leg and things would get out of hand. I mean, it's just really chaotic. I can't think of a better word to say that. And also, these people would go bankrupt, and as a result, they would end up living on the streets. And we can't really help everyone. We can't help everything. It's just far too difficult because there's so much in this world to experience and to catch up with, because you just don't have that much time. You literally have insufficient time to do this or that. That's like trying to keep up with a train without getting tired. I actually live like 5 to 6 hours away from St. Louis, Missouri, so it's miles and miles and miles of driving. I don't even drive a vehicle, by the way. I don't even have a driver's license. And yeah, I would rather visit St. Louis than live in the city because, again, the very high crime rate. St. Louis does get the bright side, and that is the Gateway Arch, which is an iconic landmark that chills right by the west side of the Mississippi River. Okay guys, here's the finished drawing, another finished pun artwork for this series of Punderful art. So this is supposed to be a rainy St. Louis. In the background, we got the Gateway Arch, which is a very popular tourist attraction for the U.S. city of St. Louis, Missouri. I have mentioned the Gateway Arch and talked about St. Louis during the drawing portion. So yeah, and we got these abandoned buildings with cracked windows, and pieces of the windows are missing. Instead, these windows are replaced with like wooden boards, because this is what St. Louis looks like, especially for the northern portion of the city. This may not be one of my best works, but hey, this was quite the blast to do another drawing that would take a few hours of my time. This is the only building to have a chimney. I didn't include any chimneys for these two buildings. We got the trees in the background. I wasn't gonna add further details for these buildings and for the trees. I kind of got lazy on that. And we got this lamppost that's about to fall to the ground. I didn't include any sidewalks like along this street here, just to symbolize poverty. And again, this is what St. Louis looks like nowadays. A lot of buildings are condemned. There's a lot of vacant lots, so meaning spaces for trees to grow on and bushes. It's just a really rough part of the city to experience and to live in. I would hate to live in an area like this and so much crime. I had talked about all of that stuff. This drawing looked like it came from maybe like a 12-year-old. I wanted to take a break from like a highly detailed artwork, and I did include the cracks on like the brick walls of these buildings, the cracks, to make it look like these buildings are actually abandoned and no one really lives in these buildings. It's been condemned, like who freaking knows how long, like for years, decades. And I think the architecture of these buildings are like Victorian or Georgian. I'm not good with the architectural styles of these buildings because I'm not an architect, alright? When I showed my artwork in front of students and like teachers and people that work for schools, they kept telling me that I should become an architect, but that is not really my passion. I just want to be just a typical artist, that's all. that just wants to impress people as hard as I can. I tried to make this building look like it has graffiti. I don't even do graffiti, so this is a really crappy graffiti I've ever done for a drawing. These buildings are in complete decay. It's called urban decay for a reason. And yeah, I like to call this artwork, when it rains, it pours. You notice the homophone usage of the word pour? Not this pour. No, not this pour. You guys really get what pour means. The other pour. No money. Can't really use the money to create satisfaction. You guys really get what I'm trying to say. Here's the artwork. Here's the drawing. Another pun artwork for this series. So that is going to be the end of this episode of Punderful Art. Stay tuned for more content, guys, and I hope this episode was quite enjoyable to watch. I hope this art video was quite enjoyable to watch. I will see you in the next episode of the series.